Today, I am so thrilled to welcome the team from European Waterways to join us. We are talking about barging in Europe and such a unique experience, small group, very intimate, amazing culinary experiences. So much to enjoy, so different from any other cruising. So I really hope you will just sit back and enjoy, take it in. Please let me know your questions and I will get you the answers. But I thank you for joining me and for your hard work. And I appreciate so much your willingness to be here to share your own experiences with my clients. So please, Emma, take it away.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you everybody for joining us today. So here we are, we're European Waterways Luxury Hotel Barge Cruises. We're going to start with a little bit of history on European Waterways, where it all began. So we've been established for many years, over 40 years operating the European waterways and canals. So we specialize in creating a really unique all-inclusive cruising experience on board our luxury hotel barges. And we cruise the scenic inland waterways and the canals through France, Italy, Belgium and Holland, Germany, England, Scotland and Ireland. We operate 17 hotel barges in our cruise fleet, and each of them have a very unique history. They're very individual characters and ambience and style on board across the 17 barges. Today's main focus, of course, we're going to have a look at La Bella Vita shortly. We're privately owned, 2 directors, and they are supported by a very experienced team, including Julie here and Brenda and myself, based in the UK. Head office is close to Windsor Castle, very close to London. We also have an operational base in Burgundy in France, and that's a real busy hub during not only the summer months, but also during the winter as well when we don't cruise. And this is for refurbishment work and having these barges shipshape and ready for the following cruise season. So a little bit of who enjoys a hotel barge. What type of clients are you going to expect on board? Our clients tend to be very experienced and sophisticated travelers. They're cruisers that are perhaps looking for something different. They've done those big ocean-going cruise liners, perhaps a lot of the river cruising as well, and they're looking for something different and something a lot more experiential as a tour. Food lovers who particularly enjoy Italian, European cuisine, and of course fine wines as well. We have lots of friends and families booking our barges, more often for special occasions. It could be multi-generational grandparents taking their children and grandchildren. It could be special birthdays and anniversaries where you take the whole barge and charter it for the 6 nights, or a particular themed cruise as well, which we can offer. The average age on board, you're talking roughly sort of 55 to 60 years and upwards. There is no restrictions for children on board for charters. There's no age limit for a charter privately. However, for cabin bookings, there is a child age of 12 and over, maximum child age of 12. We don't particularly get children on board cabin bookings. It's mostly for private charters, and we can tailor that itinerary accordingly. So again, we're going to look in general across the fleet of 17 of our barges, fully inclusive. So it's 6 nights on board. We cruise Sunday to Saturday. The accommodation is air-conditioned ensuite cabins or staterooms, depending on the barge that you're looking at. We have high-quality linens and towels, bathrobes and toiletries included. All the transfers by our own crew, plus the daily excursions as well by the chauffeured minibus, which I'll show you shortly. We've got some images as we go through. It's inclusive of all the entry fees as well. So all of the tours and excursions, they're all included in the price. And of course, once they're on board, you have the services of an experienced captain, a chef, housekeeper, deckhand and tour guide looking after you for the 6 nights whilst you're on board. All your meals are included. So that's breakfast, lunch and dinner aboard. And there's an open bar, fully stocked all day with an excellent selection of fine regional and international wines and spirits, teas, coffees, and non-alcoholic drinks as well. And there is no limits at all. And of course, once you're on board, you have use of the barge facilities as well. And that would be Wi-Fi. There's bicycles for all the guests to use, games, books, libraries, and on-deck spa pools as well on most. So the only thing to think about as an additional would be gratuities. They're not included, but of course, always appreciated and at the guest's discretion. So here we have a map just to give you a general overview of where we cruise. So we mentioned we have 17 barges in the fleet. That's covering 9 countries. Predominantly there you can see on the map here, it's mostly in France where those colours are. But we have very, very popular cruises up in Scotland, over in Ireland, Holland, France, and of course, Italy over in the northeast. So where we cruise, as I mentioned, it's really off the beaten track regions. We really get under the skin of these regions and areas because we're small enough to be able to do that. And it's really those regions of Europe which are particularly very cultural and rich in that really gastronomic heritage history as well. So of course today our main focus, we're going to be looking at Italy in depth, in particular the wine itinerary. We've got some nice special interest excursions that we'll highlight as we go through, and Brenda will go through that in a moment in terms of the style and shape of La Bella Vita. So I'm going to hand this over to you, Brenda. Hopefully you can see the screen there in terms of La Bella Vita.
Okay, hi. Bella Vita is an amazing barge. She's a 20-passenger vessel. She's got, and she's obviously decorated in the Italian sort of interior styles. And you can see that throughout the barge where it's got the vibrant colors. She's got 2 upper deck junior suites, and then in the lower deck, she's got 8 lower deck staterooms.
Here we go.
Okay, yeah. So you've got the 3 decks, and then on the deck where you've got the upper junior suite is the same level as where your salon and your dining room is. So that's actually lovely for some guests who may have a slight difficulty or slightly elderly who can't sort of go downstairs. That's great for them because they're all on the same level. But all the rooms are fantastic. And on the 2 upper deck ones, you can open the windows and open the door slightly. And it's sort of got a Juliet little balcony where you can look as you cruise. Going down the stairs, you've got your 8 cabins. All the cabins can be made into either twin beds or a double bed. They are spacious. There's enough room. It's got a lovely cupboard. It's got a shower area where you can either have a shower, and they are fully kitted out with toiletries. You've got your hair dryers, you've got your shower, your bathrobes, and lovely soft fluffy towels. So it's really great. And all the rooms are air conditioned and centrally heated. So that's really, it's really lovely. Then you've got the very top deck where you can sit there and just watch the world go by, really. The week that we were cruising we watched some otters swimming around. So it's really very exciting. And of course, the staff are amazing. You just have to turn around and you've got another cocktail in your hand, or you've got canopies. So you really are very well looked after.
Thank you, Brenda. So I'll just go back to recap on the cruising area where Bella Vita cruises. Of course, it's Italy. And this is just to sort of highlight where in Italy, and I'll show you just in a moment the map. So cruising on the Venetian lagoon, and it's along the River Po and the Canal Bianco between Venice and the Renaissance city of Mantua. So we cruise between those 2 points back and forth each week. So as Brenda said, there's so much opportunity to enjoy the views, whether it's on that beautiful sun deck, really spacious sun deck. You've got very diverse landscapes going through this particular region. Lots of very colourful lagoon islands. You've got wild beach sand dunes, pine woods, very, very sort of lots of wildlife and bird life as you're going through. So it's very diverse as you sort of cruise between one point to another. Here's the map. Hopefully you can see that clear enough. I've sort of highlighted Venice in red and Mantua just slightly over there. So that's in the green, you've got the River Po is just below, and then you've got the Canal Bianco, which is coloured in green all the way along that particular route. So this is the route that we'll be cruising back and forth. Depending on the water levels, again, the captain usually knows a few days or perhaps even the week beforehand in terms of the levels on which one you will cruise on, but they run sort of parallel to each other. So it's exactly the same itinerary, everything is the same, but you'd either be on the canal or the river, depending on. So here, just to recap on Brenda's description. So it's 20 passengers, very typically modern Italian interior design. Of course, you've got the bar area, very spacious salon, and then of course those upper two decks as well. So you've got your junior suites on the top, and then the eight standard suites just below. We're going to have a look at a few images here as well. So we've got the deck plan, which I can send to you, Diane, as well. So as Brenda was describing there, you've got that really spacious sort of lounge salon area just ahead of that bar in that picture here on the left-hand side. There's always plenty of spaces to sit, relax, and wind, and you've got those picture windows as well. So you're never too far from a view or some scenery, whether you're sitting here or enjoying a Prosecco on the upper deck. It's a fantastic bar area and space. They've done it really well. Very colourful, typically Italian in style. And here's the sun deck we mentioned. So again, very, very spacious. There's plenty of space. There's a maximum of 20 passengers this barge carries. So you can see there is so much room to sort of, you know, if you want to sort of just sit off a little bit and enjoy the scenery by yourself, there's plenty of space for everyone and to feel comfortable and not too cramped in. You can see the bicycles there at the far end as well. There is bikes for everybody to enjoy. There's some beautiful cycling parts along this particular stretch as well. So some images here of the interior shots. You got your dining table laid out and some of the cabin shots as well coming up. So you can see there, twin or double. Really comfortable, lots of space for storage. And as Brenda mentioned, really nice ensuite bathroom there as well for everyone. And there's some really nice touches actually with dinner. They lay out various pieces throughout the cruising week for dining. For example, this mask here just on the left-hand side picture, all the guests came to dinner one evening and these were placed on the plates before they start. So there's real nice small touches as you go through. They have a menu as well laid out in the morning of what the day ahead looks like, and some sort of timings as well, so you can sort of see what's the plan ahead for the day. So we're going to have a look next really on the unique excursions and the insider experiences, and we call them insider experiences because what we've really done over these years is really curated and handpicked these particular places that we visit, and more often than not they are bespoke and individual to us, so very exclusive and very private, which really lends itself to, as we come out of this sort of post-pandemic feel of traveling in smaller groups, more private, more intimate, and ultimately perhaps safer as well. So I've picked a few on here, and of course, Diane, you'll have access to the full itinerary, including the wine itinerary. There's so much more, as you know, but I've kind of picked out a few that really stand out for us, and of course for Brenda, who's experienced quite a few of these just recently. In fact, the image just at the top is Villa Carzen, and this is a particularly popular excursion of ours. It's private dining experience, so we take the guests during the week to this villa. I mean, it's absolutely ginormous. It's set in acres and acres. and you are hosted by the owners for a private dining experience. It's where Lord Byron wrote some of his best poetry. It is steeped in history, and it's so special because it's just you, your fellow guests, and the owners, and you are really treated like, I suppose, royalty whilst you're there. It's a 17th century stately home, absolutely beautiful grounds. It's a really phenomenal experience. Just below that, you've got an image of the city of Ferrara, and this is where we do a walking tour. There's a 14th century castle here. It still has its own moat, drawbridges, marble balconies, very, very stunning. And we also tour the Ducal Palace, which is stunning as well. Very, very stunning architecturally, but it's set across 15 gardens and courtyards. It's host to a museum, a basilica, a theatre. It's ginormous. So all of these unique and private insider excursions really do make this trip sometimes, and often for most, once in a lifetime experience. So I've taken out a couple of wine tasting points from the wine itinerary. And again, there is so much to take from the itinerary. As a private charter, we can become quite flexible in terms of what we can offer. But with our wine tastings, we've sort of handpicked these again as well. We've sort of tried and tested these. So one of them that kind of sticks out is really the private boat trip to the island of Sant'Erasmo. So here, guests are really treated to a private tasting at the estate of Orto. And again, this is a very, very unique experience, probably once in a lifetime for most as well. As including that, we tour the 17th century Villa Borletti, which is a Woodman Borletti private wine tasting here as well. Again, magnificent gardens, very, very unique and special to us as a tour, as a group. Alongside that, we also visit medieval town of Sorbet, where we taste the dry white wines from there. And also on board, there's lots of wine tastings as well through the wine week. So wine is served actually with lunch and dinner, and there's a huge selection right the way through the cruising week. So there's lots interspersed, not only off the barge, but also on the barge as well. And again, that's just a hand-picked few samples of a wine-themed cruise. So I've got some images as we go through to the next sort of section of the presentation. And this just, I guess, Brenda, gives you a feel, doesn't it, of what you'll see on board the barge. So here on the left-hand side, you've got, did you see the flamingos when you were on board? This is on the Po Delta. I didn't get to see them.
No, unfortunately, I didn't see them, no.
No, I know a lot of our guests have actually witnessed and seen these, but apparently it's a bit of a phenomenon and you have to really time it right for that particular time of the year. But to think about flamingos in Italy is just, you know, bizarre, but they are definitely there. And then just over to the right-hand side, it's that typical Italian feel with the sort of floating boats and beautiful sort of architecture in the distance. That's the San Castello region and district, which you will see as well as you're cruising along. This is magnificent. This is Doge's palace in Venice. So you've got all the gondolas bobbing up and down and floating by, and really with La Bella Vita, you're really in the heart of this. You're not moored too far from here overnight, so you can, after dinner, hop off and have a wander through the cobbled streets and get lost in Venice. It really is a treat. We've got up next the floating markets on the left-hand side here. And then I think that's Ducal Palace just on the right-hand side there. So again, just some hand-picked images. So we're going to look at our crew next, and again, our crew really covers the whole of our barges, not just La Bella Vita. So we have English-speaking crew that pride themselves on attention to detail, very, very high levels of personal service. The crew includes qualified captain, So he or she will be fully experienced as a really barge master on board, a highly trained gourmet chef, so a culinary historian on board with them, lots of information and skills coming from the kitchen, in particular for Bella Vita, those Italian recipes, the cheeses, and the fine wines. Brenda, if you jump in here, you'll know, you've experienced lastly the food that Andrea cooks.
Oh, you will go mad. You just, I mean, everybody just said, you know, we've put on inches in a few days because you don't want to stop eating. I mean, the food's amazing. And the great thing is also that on one of the mornings, they set up in the dining room a sort of cookery class. And they showed us, the two chefs showed us how they made a lasagna. And I mean, it's, you know, we all think we can make lasagna until the Italians make the lasagna, and it's just, and then we ate it at lunchtime. It was divine. So yes, and everything's paired, your wine is paired with the food. And in the evenings, it's such a delight to arrive at your dining room table because you just don't know what to expect. It's just, it's great. They are fantastic, yeah.
It's a real treat.
Real treat.
So as Brenda said, I mean, the food is phenomenal. What they bring out from the kitchens, and often on the barges across the fleet. Some of these galley kitchens are very, very small, so it's all locally sourced produce from local markets, and it's served back on board. And as Brenda said, you know, the chefs are inviting the guests back to the kitchen, or in this case, in the salon area for onboard cooking demonstrations as well, offering some, you know, useful tips. And again, that's across the fleet. And
just if I may jump in on food as well, you know, if your guests have got any sort of dietary requirements, whatever it is, I mean, our chefs are so well prepared. As long as they let us know in the office, then we pass it on to the chefs, and they will make sure that any dietary requirements they will adhere to, whether it's alcohol or food or allergies or gluten-free or whatever it is. As long as we're aware, the chef will accommodate the passengers, so it's never a problem at all.
So of course, with the captain and chef, we've got knowledgeable English-speaking tour guides. So these tour guides are with the guests from the moment they step on board, really until the end, and they're really there to chauffeur, escort them on excursions, perhaps drive the minibus as well. So they're really sort of on hand all through that cruising week. The deckhands really work behind the scenes, and they're there just to keep the barges clean, tidy. They help with repositioning the barge and bicycles, for example, along the cruising route. And then we've got those hosts and hostesses, and they are there to take care of all of the guests' needs. They look after the cabins, and they also serve during meal times, so meals and drinks as well. So there's a real family of crew looking after you from the moment that you're met at the transfer pickup point to the minute that you're dropped off again at the end on that Saturday. So we spoke about the transfers. This is just to highlight what we have with our barge fleet. So they will all come with one of these, if not similar, very comfortable luxury. These are our new Mercedes vehicles, fully air conditioned. They've got the USB phone charger points, and they've got those automated steps for anybody with slight mobility issues. And as I mentioned, these kind of go silently alongside the cruising route and are used for the transfers. So they're moved from point A to B and used for the transfers as well. Just while we're talking about transfers, just on a side note, for private charters, transfers can be quite flexible. Our pick up and drop off points can be flexible, whether it's a specific hotel that the group are staying at, airport if we can, train station. So always just check with us, Diane, in terms of the client's sort of requests, and we can see if we can do that. But for private charters, we're quite flexible.
Yeah.
Okay, Julie, over to you. I'll leave you with the confidence safety cruise procedures.
Yes, thanks very much, Emma. So, of course, there is the other side of the trip to consider, the safety and also terms and conditions. So at the moment, we're using a book with confidence amendment to our terms, which gives our clients a little bit more confidence when they're confirming their booking and paying their deposits. So currently, for bookings made up till the end of April this year, for cruises this year, you're able to reschedule your cruise at any time up to 30 days prior to departure if any COVID-related government regulations are likely to prevent you travelling to the barge. So this is quite an important consideration. Now, Diane, you're looking at travelling in 2022. So of course, this is something that we can discuss as well, possibly extending this consideration to your trip. European Waterways is a fully bonded member of ABTA and ABTOT. So we do invest quite a substantial amount of money annually in providing protection for all the clients' monies that we look after so that your monies are always safe. And if you could just change the slide, please, Emma.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And of course, a subject that's right at the top of everybody's mind at the moment, safe cruising procedures. We've always taken health and safety extremely seriously, as you can imagine. But of course, now this has become a matter of much more concern to everybody. It's usually something that happens in the background and people don't really think very much about, but now it is very much on everybody's minds. So we have introduced some extra measures to reassure our guests and our crew, of course, that everybody will be kept as safe as is possible. So pre-embarkation, we will be providing guest questionnaires and which need to be completed, and there will be temperature checks required at the pickup point. Guest luggage will always be disinfected on arrival as well. We've introduced extra deep cleans on board before every cruise, regular disinfection of high use zones, and much more frequent cleaning of communal areas as well. Air conditioning, this is very important. We do have air conditioning on all our barges and in our cabins, and it's important for clients to know that the cabins have their own individual air conditioning systems. So there's no cross-contamination possible between cabins. A few additional measures as well. We'll have sanitizer gel at various places throughout the barge. Masks and gels will always be available for use as appropriate. Food and beverage, this will all now be served by the crew, so there won't be buffets on board. And personal water bottles will be supplied for use for each guest. Again, for guests, reassurance, all our crew will have regular medical checks and full training on health procedures. And we do, of course, always have English-speaking doctors and medical facilities available at short notice if they're required. Now, these are some of the measures that we introduced at the end of last season. So this would be fall 2020 as an initial response to the pandemic. And of course, the pandemic and regulations are developing all the time. It's a changing environment. And so we're keeping abreast of all the changes, all government legislation, all possible requirements to make sure that the safety measures that we have in place are fully compliant with all rules and regulations at any time. And for our fleet, of course, this means that we have to be aware of those different regulations across several different countries. But of course, here with Italy, again, you know, we're specialized in this, and our partners in Italy also very highly knowledgeable of the exact local requirements to keep everybody as safe as possible. So it could well be that we may need to adjust these regulations and our own health and safety procedures between the recording of this video and the time that you cruise in 2022, but we will keep Diane fully informed of everything as it needs to change.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Brenda. That brings us to the end of a short trip on the River Po on the Bellavita, and hopefully a bit of inspiration and history of who we are, European Waterways. I'll hand back over to you, Diane.
Thank you so much, Emma. Oh, and Brenda and Julie, you guys, this has been amazing. Your personal experiences and stories really help, you know, us understand just how unique this is. And I can't wait to just slow down and just immerse in, you know, the area where we are. You know, we're not racing through 20 countries in 8 days. You know, this is fabulous. And I just love your attention to every detail and these unique experiences. Oh, how special. I just can't wait. So I so thank you for joining me again. And I look forward to working with you and having many clients travel with European Waterways. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you so
Diane.
much.
Thank you, Diane.
I look forward to welcoming you on board.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Exactly.